what's like the process to change or stop the negative behavior that we have, assimilated from our youth? There's a process you've taken people through that you're very good effective at. What's that? Sort of what's that look like?
Yeah, so I'm gonna. If you haven't listened, this is the time where you put down your pencil or pull over, because I'm gonna tell you like literally the secret to life. Every
Okay.
single negative behavior that you have in your life, and we could sit here for the next 2 hours. I'm just going to highlight a couple though. You drink too much, you smoke too much weed, you're a workaholic, you have shitty
Hmm.
relationships, you shut down when your spouse says something, you eat too much, you drink too much, depression, anxiety, OCD, whatever it is. All of those negative behaviors are actually your brain's perceived solution to something that it thinks is even more painful and dangerous over here. So when you go to the therapist with your depression or anxiety, that's the solution to the greater problem. The problem is most therapists don't know that. They focus on, oh, let's focus on your symptoms. If you have anxiety, let's teach you how to breathe. None of that shit works until you get to the core over here. What is the thing that's driving the negative behavior? And here's what you find out 99.99% of the time. The thing that's driving the negative behavior is the untrue story that you told yourself from 0 to 10 years old. So what we do, we use hypnosis. I've done it without hypnosis, and hypnosis is not what you think. It's not the, chasing around mice on stage. It's just a deeply relaxed meditative state. We go into your subconscious mind, which knows the source of all of your problems, and we identify what is that untruth. Then we show the brain the conflicting thought, which is it's untrue because we're going to show you times where it was untrue in your life. Now you've got two conflicting thoughts. It's like me saying to you, looking out my window and saying, David, it's pouring rain, which it is today here in DC. Oh, and by the way, it's perfectly sunny. Well, your brain has this mismatch detector. You'd be like, ding, 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 ding. Something's off here. That's what happens. And your brain, through neuroplasticity, rewrites that untruth into the truth. In my case, I'm not enough fueled everything, all of my negative behaviors. Well, I showed myself times where I was enough. It rewrites that neural pathway. Guess what happens to the negative behavior once you rewrite the neural pathway? It's got nothing to fuel it. It's gone forever because not one person take all of those things I just named. Overeating, smoking weed, shutting down in relationships, depression, anxiety. Not one of you was born with that. Not one of you was born with that. It was learned behavior. So if it was learned, we can unlearn it. And they didn't figure this out until the last 25 years. It's called memory reconsolidation. You actually reconsolidate the memory. Freud actually, and to 100 years after Freud's death, they thought the memory as a child, I'm not enough, was emblazoned in your mind forever. They know now that's not the case. It's changing everything. So you're thinking, oh, well, they're probably teaching this in psychology school. No, they're not. They're still teaching the old shit from 100 years ago, which is, oh, you got anxiety? Let's work on some breathing issues. So that's the secret to life. Any negative behavior you have, it's not your fault. It is your subconscious mind protecting you from something over here it thinks is more dangerous and more painful. All you have to do is show the brain that it's untrue, rewrite the neural pathway, and boom, the negative behavior goes away. It did for me and 100 of my clients.
So just to reiterate, you said that like the negative behavior is what your brain is allowing you to do because what would be doing otherwise would be worse for you.
100%. So I'm going to come home and drink every single night 6 glasses
Yeah.
of wine because
Mhm.
I don't want to face the fact that I'm unlovable and my wife might leave me and my kids don't and my kids
Mhm.
hate me. So I'm just going to keep
Definitely.
drinking and drinking and drinking because I can't feel this pain over here. When dad
Mhm.
told me I was no good and beat me, I can't go there because that's life or death. Because as a child, if you are upsetting your parents who are the tribe leaders, what would happen if the tribe leader 10,000 years ago was upset with you? They would kick you out. If they kick you out, what would happen to you? You would die. So when you shut down,
Mhm.
when your spouse comes to you with something benign and says, David, you really upset me when you did this, and you shut down, it's not your fault.
Mhm.
It's your primitive brain saying you can't go there because if you're your authentic self, you're going to get kicked out of the tribe.
Uh-huh. Interesting. So, like, what about overeating? That I'm thinking like alcohol, weed, things like that, uh, drugs, whatever like sedate, numb. What is like some of the other habits? Like you mentioned OCD, behavior, overeating. What now? How would that Or would I just not go to that behavior if it was something I'm dealing with my wife? I mean, I'm just kind of thinking about real time some of the stuff you brought up, which in relationships. I mean, that stuff comes up, and how we deal with it is
Well, a
not.
lot of people listening to the show probably have an addiction to work, and
Mm,
the addiction to work is I'm going to prove something.
mm-hmm,
I had a client who could retire, and yet he worked like crazy at the expense of his family because the underlying untruth was I'm not enough. I've got to go prove myself. Overeating,
mm,
undereating, it's all the same. It's protecting. There was a story, and it's not. I used a broad category because it usually comes back to some unworthiness. But I had a client who's uh, at 5 years old. He wanted something. His mother wouldn't give it to him, and he said, "I hate you." Mom
mm-hmm,
cried for 2 hours. Dad came home, spanked him, said, "Don't you ever make mommy feel that way." So the truth, the untruth he told himself at 5 years old was, if I am my authentic self, love will get taken from me. I'll get kicked out of the tribe and die. So at work, he couldn't be a leader because he didn't ever want to tell people what they were doing wrong because his primitive brain was saying, I might get kicked out of the tribe. So overeating is I don't want to feel this bad feeling over here of I'm not enough. So I'm just going to keep eating and eating and eating. Because again, not one person, when you were in the womb, you took in the perfect amount of food. You didn't and you didn't overeat or undereat. Then I've talked to people who are underweight because their father made a comment about they wanted them to be a certain body type, and they took that to mean the wrong way. And so their whole life they've been able to put on weight. So it's all that story of trying to protect yourself as a child.